Hello, 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 folks. What's up today? It's Deej. What the hell? I'm gonna rant today. I just feel like I'm in a ranting mood. I should be making birthday videos because I got some backed up, but I'm not in the mood to put on silly outfits at this moment. No, I am not in the mood to put on silly outfits. I'm just in a rare mood to rant. Actually, why should I say rare? Hello, Thomas Potts. You are first into the chat. Even though you showed up in my StreamYards first before you did on the YouTube. Strange. But yeah, things happen like that. Well, you know, Rosetta, you want to rant, but I'm kind of going to focus in on certain rants to begin with. If I can get the stupid StreamYards link to post into the damn chat, because, you know, fucking YouTube. There we go. Finally. Damn thing stayed. Hello, mountains. That's right. Vote Rainbow Unicorn. I'm going to be ranting about the fucking educational system today. And Rock Solid says, rant for me, you sexy bunny, you. And here's Rosetta.
If you're going to rant about the education system, I will join you in parts of it as you rant.
I'm going to rant about it because I've been watching enough of these damn postings in the last couple of weeks of all these freaking loony nut-ass teachers. And I'm just sick of it.
Well, look at the books I had to teach from. I don't care if it was considered a right-wing issue or not. Common Core is fucking trash.
Well, this goes beyond the Common Core crowd.
Well, that's all part of those stepping stones to their indoctrination. It was all part of that. And it's an indoctrination that both sides support. You know?
I just got done watching the school board meeting from California last night over that Antifa teacher, old Gabriel Geip, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Diaper Dick Wanker?
That openly admitted on a Project Veritas video that he got caught on Undercover Sting with about how he has 180 days to move all his students as far left as he can. And when asked how he does that, he says, by scaring the fuck out of them.
Yeah, torturing and tormenting children.
All the while, he has a big Antifa flag hanging on his wall, while he has a picture of Mao hanging on his wall, how he has a big poster where he encourages his students to bring in photos of themselves and place on the wall on how far left they actually are.
Did anyone ever pay attention to the Famian movement in Saul Alinsky? They've told us since the 1800s they were going to do this. They've been doing it systematically since then.
And this school board, I'll get to that teacher too, Rock Solid. I'll get to, right now I'm ranting about this little commie one. All the while the school board said they had no inclination that he was doing such things, even though there are videos and there are complaints from parents and teachers or students clear back to when they hired this guy in 2019 that he was doing this shit. Which just impresses upon me that the school board is all for it too, and the only reason why they placed him on leave, and granted it's paid leave right now too, is because he got caught. That is the only reason why they're doing it. On the video, he even admits that there are other teachers at this school district that are just like him and doing the same damn shit.
Of course there are. Is anyone actually fucking stupid enough to think they aren't doing this? Again, look at what the colleges have been doing since the 60s. Look at the Famian movement. Look at what they did. Fucking read the gods of the copybook headings. This has been laid out for about 150 years, and they've been doing it in front of everybody's face. And yeah, now it's getting worse because now they're pushing it further because they've managed to get more people brainwashed, more people controlled. The generations have been being pushed and manipulated further into that viewpoint for generations. So now they can push harder because less people think they're wrong.
And the school board was so fucking gutless that after a while, they had a long list of parents that wanted to speak at this thing. But after a while, they decided to send up their lawyer to say, well, school board policies, we're only supposed to talk about these sort of things for like 20 minutes, and we have to move along to the next subject. So we're going to have to cut off. We're going to have to cut off debate on this for another day.
And at the point, I would have been going, then fucking arrest me. I'm not leaving while you're doing this shit to my child.
There was even a sophomore in the school that went up to it onto this. Of course, I feel sorry for this kid because he's going to be targeted by the school board, the principals, the teachers. That he's going to be targeted now. But he even got up and said how bad these teachers were, and it wasn't just the political science teachers, it was the history teachers, it was the math teachers, it was the art teachers. They were all doing the same damn things. But yes, we can also rant about what Rock Solid brought up. The female teacher that put out her little TikTok video talking about how she took the American flag down during COVID. Not sure why she would have took the American flag down during COVID. Have no idea about that one.
They're not related.
I know. And stored it away in a box. And then, because, well, the student asked why, she blamed it on the COVID, but then she sat there and whispered into the camera that it scares me. The American flag scares her.
And she needs to grow a fucking spine. I mean...
And, no. This ain't even the tip of it, Rosetta. She continued on saying that when the students asked, well, what are they supposed to pledge their allegiance to when they stand in the morning to do it, since the flag isn't up, she said she would try to find it and then kind of rolled her eyes and shook her head no, that she wouldn't find it. And as the student asked, well, what are we supposed to pledge our allegiance to? She turned the camera and pointed it at a gay pride flag and said, that is what you should pledge your allegiance to.
Well, again, go back to June and that group that claimed everyone was being anti-gay to call them out because they literally did a video saying, we're coming for your kids, we want them sexually. And the group that did it, several of the guys in the chorus are on the sex offender list.
Now going back to the first teacher, you know what he was doing? He was giving extra credit to the students if they would show up at Antifa rallies. I don't think that's exactly and morally legal. No. Actually, half the shit that this teacher was professing should be taken to the cops, and he should be arrested for child endangerment.
And see, that's the thing is, I've been telling people this shit for years. I've told people, I don't care. I'm against government being in healthcare and in education in any way, shape, or form, because it will always lead to propaganda for whichever side's got control. Because you can't have government dictating how people should think without it trying to get people to think the way that they want. I don't agree with government education for a lot of reasons. That's a big one. And because, I'm sorry, these people that are in there right now are fucking nut jobs, and I don't want my money supporting them.
I mean, back in the day when I was a kid, and granted, that was quite a long while ago, because I am old.
Yeah, but, I mean, we're talking about the entirely different forest now. The other trees are gone. I mean...
But back then, we had no idea which way a teacher leaned in political in their political beliefs. We had no idea. They weren't pushing their political beliefs. They were teaching us reading, writing, arithmetic, history. Now it seems like any damn school that you hear about, that's all they're doing is pushing beliefs.
Actually, Random, I will disagree with that in one way. You do need social studies. You do actually need to learn the political history of a country without bias, because you do need to know how you actually became a country, and that history is still considered part of politics. B, because we can't have no evidence for or against religion. That's why it's faith or a lack of faith. So it should be, these are the theories people have. These are the different cultures and belief structures around the world. Decide for yourself what you believe without bias. Kids should learn about that stuff. That's how we learn from history. However, they should learn about it without being propagandized to.
Yes, it shouldn't be like, they shouldn't be teaching a whole faith on a religion. They just should be talking about religion was part of the reason why the country was founded, because people wanted freedom of religion, and a lot came here for that.
Yeah. And if you're going to teach anything on that, you need to teach, these are the cultures of the world, these are their viewpoints, these are their religions or their lack of religion. You do your research and decide. Period. Which is the way my mother taught us. And yes, that's my point, Random. I agree with your overall statement, but the way you phrased it didn't leave that exemption. So I was just clarifying that.
Well, we knew this shit was going on in the universities for decades now. We knew that. But now it's filtered down to high school, middle school.
My mom was finding this shit in the schools when we were kids. That's why she pulled our kids out and homeschooled us. So it's been there for quite a while. It's just been being amped up constantly. But I really am serious. Everybody out there who's listening to this discussion, go read Rudyard Kipling's The Gods of the Copybook Headings. It's a poem that he wrote after he left the Famian movement, which was what became the progressive movement that Alinsky came from. Because it tells you exactly what they were doing even in the late 1800s. It's all laid out.
I sit there and I go one step further. If your tax dollars are going to supporting school systems, you need to get involved and check out what the hell they are actually doing with your tax dollars.
Oh, no, I agree on that. I was just giving people a place to start looking at how this happens. I think people need this information because most people have no idea what's been happening under their noses our whole lives.
I'm starting to agree with people, and I hate to say that I think that it's come to this, but I think they need to start putting cameras in the goddamn classrooms so people can see what the hell is actually being taught in them.
You realize that a lot of the schools have it contracted that kids aren't allowed to show their homework to their parents because they don't want them to know what's in the school books and Common Core now?
Oh, yeah. They were doing that all through the lockdowns where when the kids were doing remote learning, they were telling them that you cannot have your parents seeing any of this material. Why is that? What are they trying to hide that they don't want parents to know? And if they're doing such things, then you know they are up to no good. If they're trying to hide all this shit and tell these kids that they're not supposed to tell their parents what's going on in the class, what they're doing, you know they're up to something. They're hiding something. Education should be completely free and open, and everybody should know what the hell is going on. And I'm not saying this just against the left side. I feel the exact same thing, that if you're far right, they should be seeing those too. There is no room in education to where people should be sitting there indoctrinating.
No, there isn't.
From one side to the other.
Hoster, do you remember that night we had that conversation on your stream where we went off on this stuff and the history of it for like 4 hours? I do. I read the poem to you that night. That was last year. That was about a year ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if you can't remember it with everything that's been going on in the world. But yeah, that was a thing. There's a reason I push this stuff for everybody to know, because it's real.
But before I go any further, I am ignoring the chat, and I should catch up on that because, you know, I just started into full rant mode, and I should say hello to Thomas Potts, Cinnabon, Bunny, Mountains of Elysium, Rock Solid, let's see here, Darth Haster, John Myers, Bird of Prey 5, shit, Wookie is even here, and Darth Haster.
And I've been trying to talk to your chat for you while you were ranting, so that they
I know, but I after watching that school board meeting for the last hour and a half, I mean, the fucking school board sitting there playing on their phones and their laptops trying to ignore what all these people are telling them. And they were getting called out left and right. And of course, whenever the school board was asked a question, all they would respond to is, we cannot talk publicly about the matters going on behind the scenes at the school. What the fuck? You're supposed to be talking about what the hell's going on. You're being paid by the fucking people. And hello, Uncle Remus. And yeah, of course, they want to start it as soon as they can. And you got these school systems. And what cracked me up the most about this school board meeting that I watched, there was this lady from Texas, African-American woman, that totally went off on the school board because her daughter, within the first 2 weeks, was already being indoctrinated by this teacher.
I went through the little bit of time that I had in any schooling was Head Start program and government involvement. And even then, there were little things they were saying and doing that weren't right. The difference was me being me. I was the bullheaded kid who sat there and argued with them and refused to listen. So, I mean, I saw it then in the Head Start program for underprivileged children in the 80s. I saw it then.
And yes, Darth, I did see the other school board meeting, wherever it was, that somebody had listed a whole bunch of names that Bart Simpson would put out. I was just disappointed that Seymour Butts was not included on that list.
Yeah, they fucked that up. I mean,
what? We cuss here. Good morning, Yvette. But yes, they are not fucking teaching. Look at the fucking law they passed in Oregon. The governor signed the paperwork to where they no longer have to have a minimum requirement for reading, writing, and arithmetic. Because they said it's racist against minorities because they can't keep up. So basically, the Democrats in Oregon are saying minorities are too stupid to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Oh, that's always been that way. Again, another thing to research for people on this. This goes back to Solinsky in that era, too. Research the term, the soft-spoken bigotry of low expectations. This is an actual phrase from this progressive left movement. And it literally is where they are creating subgroups for minorities, women, gays, and stuff, where we have to take care of them because they're too childlike to take care of themselves.
Yeah, they basically want to make them as dumb as possible so they will stay under their thumb, getting their free handouts to keep voting for them. That's the Democratic plan, folks.
Yep. And
they don't want them. They don't want them to learn. They don't want any of us to learn. They want to keep us down. They want to keep us stupid.
I am wondering how much of your chat actually knew I knew a lot of this shit. Hi,
and hello, Fully. Oh, Fully, you picked the wrong day to come in here because I'm in rant mode.
No, he picked the right day to come in here. I miss talking to Fully.
I don't know. I should be a little upset with Foley for calling me a lady last night, like he just did again, saying, "Hey, ladies." He called me and salty ladies last night, and now he's calling me a lady again today.
Well, Random Menace, they did that here in the U.S. too. And the thing is, there is a specific rare form of dyslexia where your eyes invert the hands on a clock. I actually know somebody with it. That's incredibly rare. And if you have a student with that, you work with that student. You don't change the whole system for every kid. That's like making the system in the school play to the kid with mental issues. I'm sorry, as somebody with the mental issues, don't make other kids work in my way of working, you know?
Yeah, you know, they don't even teach them how to write cursive anymore.
No, and because it's too hard. It's too hard to fucking do this. This is not hard. This is not hard.
Actually, I'm going to go full conspiracy theory on this one. I think they just did that so the kids couldn't read the Constitution.
I think they also did that so people can't actually have a true signature.
Yeah, you have to learn cursive to do a damn signature, folks. I know you can sit there and put a little X on something or anything else, but that's just plain laziness. The teachers are plain lazy nowadays. They don't want to take the time to teach them all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they fill their heads full of bullshit like Common Core, where you got to write out a math problem in 10 lines when you could just sit there and look at it and see what the hell the answer is by just reading it.
Yeah, and that was one of the other things is, I got into it when I got put in the private schools, because even then, under what was defined as new math then, which is great compared to Common Core now, what I knew and what I did wasn't allowed, wasn't accepted, because my mom taught me, make your brain work. Learn the fastest, shortest, and easiest way to get the answer correctly. And I don't care if you write it down as long as you give me the right answer.
I've seen kids get their papers flunked because they didn't write out all the 50 steps that they wanted. And it was a fucking question, what is 4 plus 2?
Yeah, and Wookie, that is correct. Cursive was literally designed to make it easier to write and cost less ink, because the constant up and down, especially in the quilling days when it was expensive and had to be imported for them to use in the quills, was expensive and tiresome, and that up and down dried it out and cost more of it.
And it's a hell of a lot quicker if you write in cursive too.
Oh, it is. As somebody that's been literally writing stories, books, poems, songs, and other stuff since I was 11. It's so much faster to write it in cursive when you're trying to write pages. B, there is something to your brain works different creatively if you're writing by hand versus just typing it to a computer.
I guess nowadays, though, if you just want to write something down, the kids don't know what the hell you're talking about, just do cursive. They won't know what the hell you're saying. They'll think it's some foreign language.
I actually had somebody ask me what that language was once on cursive. And because it's me and, how much of a smartass I am, I told him it was Klingon.
There you go. We have a Klingon in the chat, but I don't even think he can understand.
And voice to text does not do the same thing either, Random. The problem is, and I'm not against technology. I'm not against using this stuff. Everything I write, I type up, I catalog, I do all this stuff with. That's not a problem. But your brain processes and your creative processes are different when you're staring at a screen than a paper, because of the way the light and stuff reacts to your brain. Now, that doesn't mean people can't be good digital artists or digital writers, but it does mean it does alter how your brain reacts to the creative process. And that's been shown many times.
And here we go with the hello, Professor. And here's a fun fully fact. I couldn't tell time on an analog clock until grade 11. I just couldn't figure it out. I always felt dumb. Now all my watches are analog.
And you're still dumb. I mean...
Now, I would not say that Captain Foley is dumb.
I'm sorry. I just had to take a smart ass comment where I could get it.
I don't have a brain, Thomas, so I'm just ranting at will. Just leaking out today. Now, if somebody has a opposite feeling on my rants here, you're welcome to come up and give your side.
By the way, to everybody out there, that's why I had to hop up when I saw him saying education system, because this is something I've been ranting against for a long time. And I have my own issues with the fact that I pay more for the schools in this area than parents with the kids actually in the schools, because it's based purely on property and income, and then they give a tax credit and exemption to the people based on how many kids they have in the school. So the more kids you have using what you're being taxed for, the less you pay for it. And I'm sorry, in a lot of ways, I feel I'm being taxed for being sterile because I can't do anything about that. Again, yeah, fully. That's why I was talking about earlier. I know I can't adopt under the state's laws either. It's because of my medical.
All right, adopt under Illinois law. They're stupid over here, and you could adopt a whole bunch of YouTubers.
But, I mean, that's the thing. I shouldn't have to have kids in the schools to not pay for the schools. That's fucking asinine.
Well, what really pisses me off is as the United States spends money on educational system, we spend some of the highest amounts of money on education, but our students
per capita in education.
But our students are middle of the fucking world.
They always talk about these underpaid teachers. There's not that many underpaid teachers in this country. There used to be. There's not anymore. There's actually a lot of teachers that are overpaid in some states.
Well, you can just go to Chicago, and when they're retiring with 6-figure digits, that's too much.
They're doing that in a lot of states now. And I'm sorry. I'm all for helping and supporting teachers any way we can, but throwing money at a problem without finding out where the money's going, how it's being used, if they're indoctrinating, if they're using propaganda, if they're actually working with the students, all this stuff, does nothing but waste more money. Now, there's a program in this area with the school taxes where they give backpacks for kids who can't afford the school supplies. Little backpack, packed with the basics they're required for class. The tax amount it costs for this backpack per student is over $600. I can go hit the clearances at Target and Walmart during back to school shopping and make these for kids in the inner city for $15. There's a problem there, isn't there? Why are they taking so much money for it? You guarantee you they're not giving the high-end expensive supplies to these kids. I guarantee you they're giving the bulk cheap shit to them, you know? Why are they taking so much money for each backpack? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And you start looking at it, and it's because it's all going to somebody's pockets. It's going to somebody's coffers. It's not being used where it's actually being taxed for.
Oh, hell, around here, some of the school districts are sitting there trying to get the parents to supply all the stuff for the classrooms.
I wouldn't say every single one fully, because I do know people who get into it because they really do want to try to fix the system and make a difference.
The problem is these teachers are no longer sticking to what should be taught. Reading, writing, arithmetic, the sciences. They're not sticking with that anymore. Half of these teachers are just there to try to push some kind of agenda, and it's bullshit. That's why we rank so damn low in the world for kids knowing this shit, because they're sitting there telling them that, well, they're not smart enough, so we should just lower the requirements for them. Bullshit. They could take some of this damn money, split it up, create some more schools, bring the classroom sizes down so the teachers can have more one-on-one time to teach the real thing that they should be educating them with, so they can be prepared to go out in life and actually figure out how to make change out of a dollar without needing a calculator to do it for them.
There are actual stories where people have literally had these whole meltdowns to try to make change, or literally had people harassed by security at businesses for trying to use the old $2 bills. These really do happen. And no, I'm sorry, Professor, I'm going to disagree. Yeah, kids are getting lazier, but this falls on the teachers and the administration. The school system is shit, and a lot of kids who really are trying are not getting a fucking thing for help. I know a lot of kids who want to learn who can't get help.
And the non-discipline, that's a lot of the school system's fault too, because they're too damn scared to discipline their children in the school systems. They let them do whatever the fuck they want and just keep pushing them along just to get them out of there.
That professor, that right there is the problem. If these teachers weren't propagandists, if these teachers weren't believing it themselves, if enough of them actually fought back, they would be forced to stop. The teachers are compliant in it. They are doing it when if you say this violates everything I believe in, I know they're propagandizing to kids. I know they're brainwashing kids. I know they're using Germany tactics. And you go, but I want my job, so I'm going to stay here and do it anyways. That's their fucking fault, and they're culpable.
And I'm going to blame parents also, because they're not involved the way they should be. They should be keeping better tabs on what the fucking schools are doing. They should be talking to their kids about what's going on. And if a kid tries to tell them, well, we're not supposed to talk about what goes on in school, that should be a major fucking warning right there. And you should be pulling your damn kids out of school until they actually tell you what the fuck is going on.
That, I wouldn't call that a fun fact, but that Wookiee actually is sadly true. A male teacher who has an issue happen between him and a student will be out of the job for life. He will be registered for life. He will do an average of 15 to 45 years in jail, depending on the state. A female teacher rarely does more than a few months, and she usually gets her job back. That's fact. And Wookiee, that ties into my tirade I put up on Twitter today, and I'm still going to deal with a lot of feminazis today for that one. I called out that shit about women. Hardcore. Well, that's the other thing, Eastland. You know, I'm dealing with twitches and triggers, and I'm dealing with nerve disorders and brain scars, and yet I'm told it's my fault if I have a reaction, if I have a spasm, if my voice comes out too loud sometimes, if I blurt something out because my brain ticks and I can't control it or stuff like that. I'm told it's my fault, and it's not just people on here who don't want to deal with somebody who has those issues. It's people in the hospitals because they're being put through the same education system, which is control, propagandize, blame, victim.
Another thing that I got to really crack up about, this Antifa teacher that just got put on leave and shit. Now, in his video where he was talking about what he was doing, he was talking about how he had the 180 days to radicalize his students to become warriors, to go out into the world and fight for justice and everything else. But as soon as he got caught, he put out a little video himself saying how he feared for his life now because people found out what he's doing.
I'm going to comment to what Jeff said there. First of all, I've been working with the disabled kids and the education stuff with my outreach for a very long time. I work personally with a lot of the teachers constantly. I've worked with the educational system before in different points. I deal with this stuff on a day-to-day basis. I'm not speaking from somebody's opinion. And I'm sorry, but if all these teachers who supposedly cared actually stood their ground, they could change the system. When you roll over, play dead, and do what you think is a violation of your beliefs and your moral principles, you are culpable for violating those principles. And if you think a job is worth violating your beliefs, then you're a fucking trash human.
And I have to laugh. You know, these female teachers that are always getting
Good,
busted
be
now.
Fired. If you all stand up together and you all get mass fired, it will collapse the fucking education system. They can't replace that many that fast. Stand your ground. A job isn't worth selling your fucking soul.
You know, the funny thing is that if you pay attention to these female teachers, they get busted doing things with students and crap. You notice one thing about these teachers. They have the mentality of a high school student themselves still. That's because when they go off to college, they're not expected to be a fucking adult. They're still treated like a child all the way through it. So when they go back to teach, they still have the mentality of a kid. They're not being a responsible adult.
And I know I'm probably offended half of the people in the chat right now at that.
Well, that's normal.
Thank you, Mountains of Elysium, by the way. That is my point. I am sorry, but when you do something that violates your conscience because you want a paycheck, I lose all respect for you, and you don't have a right to sit there and say you had to do it. I have lost homes. I have lost all kinds of things to stand ground on things I will not violate because it's my principles.
Hey, I have not said anything, old media guy. Everybody can have a say with what they do.
First of all, just because I'm ranting and stating my opinion does not mean I'm telling you you don't have an opinion to yours. That's a disagreement. There is nothing woke in anything I'm saying, so that argument can be thrown away. And no, it's not talking about using a crowbar. But I don't care if I'm the only person who stands. If I'm in a place and I see them doing this to children, I will lose my job before I will stay there. You're damn straight I will. It's about taking a stand for what's right. And it doesn't mean you'll ever win. But when you roll over and play dead, you're now a part of it. No, I'm not. No, I'm not, Jeff. There's a big difference between actively trying to destroy the education system and standing your ground if they try to tell you to violate your conscience. There's a big difference. And yeah, I am going to argue against anybody telling me that I'm saying to destroy things, or I'm using a crowbar, or I'm saying anything like that, or being woke, or any of that stuff, just because I am passionate on this, because I do believe in standing your ground for your moral principles in any situation, no matter who you are.
Oh, media guy.
I mistyped some of my comments. I did not get my point across as I should have. That's on me.
Okay,
I was not trying to call you. I am not trying to call you woke, and I apologize that came across. The second half of what I was going to say, I didn't type it fast enough, so I should have just made it one long post. It's not that you were woke. That was not my point. My point was Jeff and I are coming at this from a slightly different point of view, having either worked inside that system or lived with someone who's worked inside the system.
I'm talking to somebody who do this stuff constantly, so I'm not.
Okay, let's let old media guy get hit. Let's let old media guy get his thought out first before interrupting.
I'm just saying that they're not more experienced than me is the only point I was making on that one. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. It's if you're looking at something complex from the outside, you're going to be more adamant about this is how it should be. If you're on the inside, you realize all of the pitfalls and quicksand you can fall into if you make the wrong step. So it's not that you are saying, yes, these people should not stand up for their consciences. You just know how difficult it is. So correctly or not, you have more sympathy for the folks who are saying, I'm not going to stick my head up over the parapet here. However, I will say that the way the current public school system is configured is it will throw out anybody who knows what they're doing or has a moral stand to take apart from follow the crowd. So what that does is that's going to guarantee that at best, you're going to keep the mediocre teachers. That's your best case. Your worst case is you have the mediocre plus all the people under them, and plus the sexual predators, and the females, of course, are getting away with it right now in the school systems.
And I agree on that.
That's a judicial problem as well.
the point I was making is, I'm not outside the system. This is the stuff I deal with in the inner city with the work I do off stream every day. I'm working with the teachers. I'm working with the systems. I'm working with the schools. I'm seeing it firsthand every day. I'm not outside the system. And there's a difference between I'm going to do everything I can to work within the system and not do these things that I know will be harmful versus I'm going to just go along with it. I know that they're pushing a full propaganda and they're harming these students, and I'm going to do it because I'm told to. That's the point I'm making. There's a difference there versus I'm going to try to change the system from within versus I'm going to do what they tell me and not make waves. And that's what I was getting at from the beginning. And the reason I got pissed off is because Jeff went straight to the you're saying this, you're doing that, you're this, you're that, instead of actually listening to me. And when people do that, I do get pissed because that's bullshit.
Well, I think the not listening thing was kind of going both ways there. I'm not picking you two out with special treatment. I'm talking about me as well and possibly some other folks because we're all getting very emotional about this because it's hard not to because we're watching our public school system, which is now about 100 years old, collapse in front of our eyes. And if we try to do anything about it other than complain on YouTube, we get shot down for it. And we're not sure what to do next. Not sure in a sense of what would be constructive to do next. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying I don't have any ideas either, except to say, yeah, letting the whole system burn wouldn't be a bad idea. Not burn physically, but the system to just disappear would be great.
Could happen if it did that. I'm not advocating that. I wasn't defending that. My point was, I said, I'm sorry if you do something that absolutely violates your conscience because you'd rather get paid, which was a specific thing. I'm not talking about people who want to change the system or are trying to change it or any of that. I called out a very specific type of behavior from specific people. And he went to the defensive and saying, I had somebody in my family that was a teacher. That's not what they did and stuff like that. That's not what I said. It was never what I said. That was not listening to me. That's where I got pissed off because he made a false equivalency to what I said. And he used it to try to basically bash me with his opinion.
I didn't see him bashing.
He was very condescending in his comments. And he can come up here and talk to me about it.
We're talking about Professor Brainy Specs?
Yes, and I consider him a good friend, by the way. But that is how he argued that. And I have a great respect for those who are trying their best. But I was speaking of very specific issues with specific teachers, and he took personal offense to it and accused me of saying something I didn't. And that's why I got pissed off.
And that's why I said any parent or any taxpayer in a school system needs to get off their ass and become proactive and start finding out what the hell's going on in these school systems instead of just blindly voting in these stupid school boards and everything else, and need to find out exactly what the fuck is being taught in these schools and eliminate the problems and get the damn school systems back to teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, the science classes, shit like that, instead of all this other crap that they want to push in schools now.
Well, I completely agree. As to how to do that, I don't know, because all of the big money in this country is focused on making us only care about our physical appetites and what physical experiences we can enjoy. In other words, to promote the idea that we should live like animals and live in a tiny, tiny bubble where all that really matters is, are my needs getting met? And the way they're doing it is they're trying to make enemies out of anyone who says otherwise. So against billionaires, I am not quite sure what to do. Most people will not say one.
For that. Definitely a discussion for that, because money does talk.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. This isn't a coincidence. This is happening everywhere. It's a lot of billionaires saying, "Hey, look, we have an opportunity here to remake the social fabric of this country the way we want, i.e., to have serfs or slaves, which means we can own more stuff because labor costs less." I mean, that's what this is about. And if they can get enough people to act like animals, they can pull it off and say, "Gee whiz, but that's just too bad." But hey, we have the.
which is also why they're trying to push everyone into cities, because the further people are apart, the more they interact with nature, the more they interact with something beyond the system, the less they're controlled in thought. And that's been proven time and time again. And that comment, Jeff, I love you to death, but that comment right there proves you were not listening to me. I never once advocated for a crowbar tactic. I never once advocated for any of that. I said, if you are being forced to violate your conscience, walk away. That's the only thing I said. That right there is proof you did not get what I was saying and you did not hear it.
But here's the problem with that. There is a problem, believe it or not, with that, and it is this. If everyone with a conscience walks away from the public school system, the only people that will be left will be people without a conscience. It's kind of like the same thing with the military right now, where some people will be saying to themselves, why should I join the military after what happened after 20 years in a certain place? I don't know if YouTube's censoring that place or not. The reason to join it would be, at some point, those guns are going to be turned on us. And so don't leave the military to the people who are willing. Hold on. So don't leave the military to the people who would do that. And the same argument could be made for public schools.
But, and this is where the difference point is. This is where the difference point is. I'm not arguing trying to change the system within isn't good. I'm saying if somebody's telling you as a soldier, you have to shoot that child in the head, you leave before you do that. And you face the consequences. I'm not arguing it's bad to be in the system or try to change it. I'm arguing it's bad to do evil acts because I'm in the system and it's not going to make a difference. That's the difference.
The thing is, with the Middle East, after all these decades, we should know that you can't sit there and nation build in them because they are not smart enough to know what they want is good for them. They want to fall back on the old ways. It's never going to change over there until they decide they want it to change, and they're not going to.
But that is the reason I get passionate on these things when people try to say, you're arguing for crowbar, or you're arguing that nobody should try to change the system or stuff, because I have never once argued those tactics. I have argued very specific cases only. Where I will always argue is very specific cases only. Came down Thomas, to something. Go ahead.
They do, Thomas, consider Afghanistan a part of the Middle East.
Yes, they do.
Definitely.
But what I was getting at with all that is, it goes the same for when I was dealing with my votes and dealing with the political stuff I worked with in the city here. I've had people tell me, well, you have to pick one of these two people. You have to pick one of this. You have to do that. It's like, no. If I'm being forced to do something, even if it violates everything I stand for, I'm going to take the punishments or I'm going to walk away. If I'm in there and I'm going, well, I feel like I can only make a difference if I try to go for this person because it's better than this. If I weigh those options and I choose to try to take the lesser and find a way to fix the system, that's different than somebody trying to force me to do it. And that's one of the difference. Wookie, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about as a general, just murder a child kind of thing, not fight back against, not like what the lone survivor, what Kyle had to do, where he literally had to make a decision. Is this child trying to bomb people? I'm talking about just murder a child. Nothing I said was extremist, simple, and the only way people would interpret it as extremist is if they listened to half of what I said, ignored the words that gave very specific qualifiers to what I'm speaking about, and decided for themselves that it was an absolutist position, which it never was. Because I'm not absolutist on most things. I'm centrist on most things. And I also believe there is a legitimacy between the difference. But if somebody literally tries to force you to do an evil act to another innocent person, and you just go along to get along and do the evil act to that person, you still committed that evil act. That was the point I was making.
That would be the point of the Nuremberg trials, that just because you receive an order to do something immoral, you don't do it. You don't have an out to say I was only following orders.
Just look at the lieutenant colonel from the Marines that just resigned his commission after 17 years.
Simple, you're not having a legitimate conversation, though. You're looking for ways to try to manipulate what I'm saying. You're not actually listening. You're not, because you're trying to say that. No, I said evil act. And I'm not talking about politics in school. I'm talking about the abusive stuff they're doing to children and full propaganda. That's a different thing. I'm talking about actual brainwashing and abuse, which is happening in some schools. That's not the same as politics in schools. And that is absolutely evil. And that is absolutely destroying children. And yeah, I will compare that to murdering a child, because anybody who's been through abuse and propaganda and brainwashing knows how self-destructive and demoralizing and dehumanizing it is.
Uh-oh. Now we have the authoritarian person coming up here. Bird of Prey 5.
Hey, Bird.
Hello world, it's Bird of Prey 5. Kapla.
Kapla.
As usual, you're all wrong.
What?
You're all wrong.
Uh-oh. Bird's going to
okay.
point out why we're all wrong.
It's in the school's best interest to foster a relationship of trust with the kids. And the best way to do that is to tell them to cut out the parent. Okay? If you raise your kid right, then you don't have to worry about the school brainwashing them. If you don't raise your kid, then it's probably better that school does brainwash them.
No, that's
Because
not.
somebody's
I would
going to
disagree
brainwash
with that.
them.
I would
No.
disagree.
And it's
with
either going to be
first
the
statement
school or it's going to be a gang
No.
or some
That's
other criminal entity.
And it's not that you're raising kids wrong just because you can't always fight against propaganda when they're getting it in school, in entertainment, everywhere around them. You can be a good parent.
You should be
Everything- no,
the arbiter of what they see.
Let me say this. No, because you can be a good parent. You can be doing everything you can to teach them right. You can be watching them every moment they're home with you. You can be trying.
That's not being a good parent.
Let me finish. You can be doing every step, watching everything when you're there, checking with the school and trying to get information to verify things. And things can still get by. You can never completely shield your kid from the world. And you can never completely shield your kid from other people trying to propagandize or brainwash to them. I'm sorry, but it doesn't mean you're a bad parent if you can't protect them from that, even if you try.
You're not supposed to be trying 100%. You're supposed to teach them enough that they can deal with 80, 90% on their own. You only have to deal with the worst 10%.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna go back to this Antifa teacher thing. And part of the thing was, if the students didn't agree with him, he would give them Fs. Now, you can teach your kid all you want on how to do things, but if they have to go to school and sit there and kowtow the line of what some crazy leftist teacher is telling him.
What grade was this teacher?
This was high school.
Then the parents can debate the grade with the principal.
And if it hadn't been for this video coming out showing what this teacher was saying about the kids, the school board and shit was ignoring what was going on for 3 years with this teacher. Students went and complained. Parents went and complained, and nothing was done about him until the video came out to where everybody saw what he was saying and doing to these kids.
And the parents didn't know.
Video, and the video.
As for the teacher,
hold on,
where the kids were like,
the reason the video worked is it embarrassed the school. That's what we're up against. There's no moral argument you can make with some of these people that will work. The only thing that works is if you embarrass them.
Yeah, that guy was stupid for even taking that. Oh, by the way, hi everybody. That stupid was that teacher was an absolute moron for even taking that interview. Second, this is what you get when you relinquish your right to choose your teachers. If we had a dynamic core learning system where you can choose your teachers, I don't give a shit about the school. Just choose your teachers. That would fix this entire problem.
I
Actually,
disagree.
I will
You have
agree
to
that we
fix
should
it.
have
You have to
ability
have
to choose the administrators and the schools teachers and all that, and not all places we do have that ability, and that's part of the problem because we have no recourse when they're doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
tenor of
You don't
the
have the right to
school
choose your
is
teachers.
set by
God,
the
I feel bad. I
administration,
agreed
by
with
the school
LDG on
board.
something. Ugh.
Yeah.
To that
Yeah,
class who the teacher said, "Oh, pledge to the freaking rainbow flag." That's a class of what, 20 or 30 people? Not one of them was smart enough to bring in their own damn flag and put it up if they were so
Exactly.
concerned about
You can't do that.
a flag.
You can't bring in your
to-
own things to put them up in the classroom. That's not allowed.
Oh my God. Oh, to go.
Wait a minute.
And
There
$2
was
on a
already,
flag.
wait a minute. There was already a damn flag in the classroom. She purposely took it down because, in her words, it scared her.
Well, then you put
So
up
if somebody,
another one.
so if somebody brought in another flag, she's going to do the same damn shit.
And also,
Well,
you
that's a lot
realize
harder
that
to
most
explain.
schools have security at the door where they check everything the students bring in. I've known kids get
Some of them have
stopped at the
metal
door.
detectors.
Yeah, I've known
Oh,
kids
good
get
thing the
stopped
flag
at-
isn't made of metal then. huh?
No. First of all, most flags actually do have metal hooks on them, so they'll still set it off. Second of all, I've known schools that it's not just metal detector; they search the backpacks coming in and out. And
Doesn't matter. You can bring a flag into a school.
Let me finish. And anything that school or the teachers in that school determine as offensive or disruptive is not allowed through the doors at all in the first place.
There is no way you can.
You could hide a
convince me
flag as a bra.
You
for
could
God's
not
sakes.
bring a
It's most
flag
likely-
into the school.
Yeah.
And the kids will get expelled, and the parents will have issues. And it's a lot harder for a kid to stand up to the system than it is for a teacher or parent.
I agree to that.
That's true.
They don't listen to kids. I sat there
Sorry.
and told my principals
No, they don't
about
listen
a
to
lot
the
of
kids.
shit that was going on. They don't care. They literally
No, only if you
had an
embarrass them.
issue where, I literally had an issue where I got into a fight with a bully, and they brought the bully and me in front of the principal, and the principal thought that they totally bought the bully, like saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we're best friends now." And I'm like, and when the bully left, I turned to the principal and I said, "You do realize what you just did, right?" I was like, "I'm gonna get another fight in this guy within the week's end." I said, "He just lied straight to your face, and you just bought it." Walked out the door, and guess who I had fun with the following week? The whole week, actually.
Yeah.
Sounds
One
like
thing
you're a
that's not
bully.
well known is the history.
I was a
of
bully
certain
beater upper. I don't
incident.
take shit from bullies.
So you're a bully.
Never did. Yeah, I'm a bully for bullies. Exactly. I was the kid in
Back in my
ISS. I was the nerd in ISS that beat up bullies when I was in one side of the room and all the bullies were on the other in 3-day ISS for beating the shit out of them. You're absolutely right. Anyway, needless to say, the point of the matter is you need to have the right to choose your teachers. Your teachers should have the right to teach whatever the hell they want. You get to choose your teachers. You're losing control of your students' learning
And
curriculum.
another thing, we need to pay the teachers more.
Yes, of course.
They
We
don't
pay
get
our
paid
teachers
enough.
more and pay our freaking,
I think teachers should probably have multiple votes in elections too, because it's
Hell
not
Now,
just them.
Bird, you're just trolling now.
multiple.
It's
Yeah.
not
votes
just
in
them. They're
elections.
voting on behalf of their classes.
You're
No,
trolling now,
no.
Bird.
You don't get to vote for your children. Otherwise, you do.
I
the
was
hell does that
wondering
vote
how
come
long
from?
I had to go, Deej, before someone was going to call me out.
We thought you were just overly medicated.
You try to be a troublemaker. Usually, when you say shit, I assume it's just like the Krogan orphans in the mine. You just have an evil streak.
There are plenty of good teachers out there, and they're not getting paired up with the students that they would be able to be effective with because of the system.
The administration
and
is
there's
the
a
one
lot
that
of
sets up the
teachers-
pairing system.
And there's
That's
a
why you
lot
have
of
to be able
teachers
to
out
choose
there.
the school, because there are teachers out there who are being smothered by the
you get to-
administration.
I agree. I didn't mean to say that you don't get to choose your school. I was just obviously you should be able to choose your school and your teachers, What I'm saying is, I mean, we should at least be able to. It should start with the teachers first of all, because what if not everybody can go to just any school? You see what I'm saying? Unless you move.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to go to a school that's 100 miles away. You know, even if you want to go there, that's counterproductive. How the hell are you going to get your kid to a school 100 miles away? But the school that you are going to, you should be able to pick every single teacher.
All right, we're going to take
a wide variety of teachers.
Short little break.
Intermission? Commercial
break here. We're going to ask Berta Prey, is everything okay? And does he have an indoor swimming pool down in his basement? And is Mama Prey okay?
Mama Prey's okay. She wanted me to tell you, Dee, she saw you on TV last night.
That wasn't me.
Oh, yeah. I saw you. Yeah,
we
that
watched
was funny.
The original series, A Private Little War. And the Mugatu jumped out. And she's like, it's Deej. She said you should get a Mugatu costume. She had never seen
I
the
watched
episode.
that one last night as well.
Yes, it was.
I thought you were talking about something else.
Work for Lower Decks.
Let's see if I can pull it up.
Anyway, she thought that would go perfect for you.
Where's my Twitter?
That said, yes, we're okay. We got a lot of rain. There was flooding in the basement. We lost some stuff we're going to have to get rid of, but nothing too particularly valuable. It's just going to be a pain in the ass, but knock wood, we're okay, and could have been a lot worse.
Took a remnants of a storm to flood you out worse than the actual hurricane that hit you a week before.
Oh, that was nothing a week before.
Yeah, that was nothing.
This was worse than Sandy. Thank you.
Wonder if I can.
For those who were wondering.
Where did I think I found Beach? But
oh God, what the hell is LDG looking for now?
No, when we saw you last night, there was a
in the raft on the raft.
Yeah. No. The one going across the window with the cop chasing him.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I just saw it. Yeah, here it is. Here's Deej. See, Deej, I saw you this morning. I was rooting for you. Here, share this.
Take care, old media guy.
Yep.
See you later, old media.
Here is Deej.
That was not me.
That's Deej right there. Look at that speed he was getting.
For one thing, I am not good on roller skates. I would have fell down the first 10 feet. Now, if it had been a guy on a big wheel, okay, maybe it would have been me, but not on roller skates. No.
Oh, man. Anywho. Hey, what's going on? Oh, snap. Look who it is.
What the fuck is this bullshit?
What?
I got a thing on Streamlabs. Today, we are introducing Safe Mode to protect your stream from harmful content. Click here to learn more.
Oh, fuck them.
What? No, an algorithm? No way.
No, I'll show it.
I didn't get anything on that yet.
It is right there, the second one down on the tab notifications right here.
Oh, Streamlabs.
Streamlabs.
Streamlabs. Okay, I thought you said StreamYards.
Oh, Streamlabs.
Safe mode. So it's something you can turn on or off. Okay. All right, that's better.
For the time being. That's how they all start all of these programs. You can turn it on and off at the beginning, and then they change that partway through.
What up,
He's a
Roxy?
very cynical person.
And for all those asking me about Lower Decks, I don't watch the fucking thing, so I would not know.
2 episodes behind.
There's a good thing in Lower Decks. An Australian alien. Oi,
What's up, Rock Solid?
Aussie prey in space.
So I just wanted to provide some perspective for those who are saying, and I realize Bird was trolling, but there are many out there who believe that teachers are underpaid. So when you first start out as a teacher, and I'm going based off of my first wife, who is still a special ed teacher in the Milwaukee public school system, which is one of the lowest rated school systems in the country. So while your base salary when you start out may be lower, 35 to 40K, you're also only working 9 months out of the year. You have the option to, or not option, but you get every single federal holiday off. Yes, it can be stressful. You're normally done by 3:30 in the afternoon. You also have things called tenure, where it is nearly impossible to go ahead and, first of all, fire a bad teacher. Second of all, in many school districts, such as the Milwaukee Public School System, you can retire at age 53 and a half, and your pension is based off the 3 highest years of your income, not your last 3 years, not your average, your highest 3 years. And oh yeah, you still get full bennies once you retire. So that means your medical insurance, your dental insurance, your optical, that's still being paid for you at little to no cost. You can then, as well, after you retire at age 53 and a half, and go ahead and take a job in another school district. And that way you can double dip and get 2 pensions, because it only takes 10 years to reach tenure.
I can say, and this is citing a little bit of family echoes also to, let's look at my husband's grandmother. The only job she and her husband ever had was working as teachers. They live in the upper side of Riverside in California. And these are the people who, hey, I want to give you an anniversary gift. Here's $10,000.
My anniversary is tomorrow, if anyone wants to know.
No, that was actually a thing about 6 years ago. That was our anniversary gift. She sent us $10,000 for a new car.
Sorry, LGG. All I can afford is 10 cents.
I'll take it.
Like, I'm sorry, but you're not an underpaid job if you're living in a fancy home in the rich community and can give people gifts like that because you're retired from that job. And please don't get me wrong. I love her to death. I love her husband to death. They're sweet people. They were good teachers, but that's not underpaid.
No, when you consider that many teachers retire, and I think, Deej, you had mentioned it earlier, that they retire with an annual income still not working of over 6 figures. You want to know why school systems have such high budgets and are producing such poor students? It's because the resources are being misappropriated. Look at Wisconsin. About 10 or 15 years ago, they tried and successfully passed what they called Act 10, where all that it said was that teachers and employees of school systems, that the districts themselves had to basically have teachers supply part of their medical insurance and kick into their pension. It basically wasn't 100% free anymore. It didn't say that there was a cap as far as how much they could, quote unquote, force the teachers to pay, but it did go ahead and help solve a lot of the budget shortfalls that the state had. It also eliminated collective bargaining. I'm sorry if it's one of those things where I'm doing a job, I don't want someone to collectively bargain on my behalf because Joe Dumbfuck down the line doesn't know how to do his job as well as I do. I don't want my review and my pay merit increases based on his stupidity. So these are all things that, they've passed. They're common sense things, but, common sense is less common these days.
And to your comment about the collective bargaining, I don't like unions. And that's as somebody who was for a while a union carpenter. I've seen that inside of that system. I don't like how it's done, and I think a lot of their stuff crosses into mafia tactics to try to force and strong arm businesses and people doing stuff. I don't agree with
mafia.
I don't agree with businesses running roughshod over the employees either, but the two are both extreme in how they work against each other, and both are using ridiculous, horrible tactics. And so that's why I kind of moved myself away from that whole system, is because I didn't like either side of it, you know?
The mafia?
Well, when unions went from protecting the workers to basically just funneling money to political parties, that's where I cut ties and say the unions are corrupt.
Well, and I will, just my personal experience, when my mom went through both of her bouts of cancer, she was a florist working in a grocery store. She had to join a union. And you figure that not the highest paying job, but when the store was going to let her go while she was going through chemo, what did her union do for her that she loved and supported and paid into happily each and every month? They did precisely jack and shit.
Yeah. I will tell you, it wasn't normal jobs that I dealt with abusive behavior and sexist behavior. It was my time in the union. That's my experience, but I do not have a good viewpoint of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters.
Well, and I will say one other thing, and I've got to get back to the office here in a second. The other interesting issue, or not issue, but opportunity, I would say, that they have in Wisconsin is basically what they call open enrollment. Essentially, if you can get your kid to a school, they can go there. Now, you don't get any tax breaks or benefits. So let's say, for example, you are in one community and the school you want to put your kid in is in another county or another city. You still have to pay your property taxes and everything to the school district where you live. And then you have to pay out of pocket to get them to go to the school where they want to go to. But at least it gives them the opportunity to go to better schools versus what they introduced in the city of Milwaukee and the mid 80s is what they called Chapter 220, which basically eliminated neighborhood schools in an effort to try to get the kids from the suburbs to come into the city and the city kids to go out to the suburbs. So they would bus kids back and forth. You would have 2 and 3 hour bus rides each way for these kids. And all that it did.
Then we lost Rock.
And we lost them.
We lost Rock.
Lost them.
We can't hear him no more. What the hell? He went poop on us.
Wookiee's comment about that. It's funny how the guys quit being sexist and pigs to me once they saw me wielding a sledgehammer. It's funny how you can correct that information without then go crying for help.
That sounds like
Just
a big
saying.
part.
He probably was. He probably just ripped one going, I don't want to listen to everybody.
I think Rock Solid's back now. I don't know. You just went poop, quiet, and dead. You were halfway through your comments, and boom, we couldn't hear you no more. I can hear the clicking. I don't know who farted, Thomas. It was not me.
Sorry.
It was LBG. Just said sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right. Well, almost time for me to start my stream. I think I'm all ready to go here. And everything's looking good.
Wait, what stream are you doing?
Cowboy Bebop, episode 1.
And there went Rock Solid, so he is having technical issues, folks. Part heard round the world. All I'm going to say, people, on the subject is start getting fucking involved. Start seeing what the hell all these teachers are doing.
Yep.
It's time. I hate to say it, but it's time to put fucking cameras in the classrooms. If cops have to wear cams, I think the teachers need to also.
And
They
I
need
agree.
to be held accountable too.
Every class should be accessible.
Yep.
And the first time you hear any of your kids say that a teacher's in the school system said you're not supposed to talk about what they're doing in class, that's when you should be really worried. And that's when you need to go to your school boards and stand up and start finding out why. What the hell are they hiding? Because these schools are filled with, I hate to even call them teachers, because half of them shouldn't even be holding a degree to be teaching kids anymore the way they act. They're not there teaching anymore. They're there brainwashing your kids.
Agreed.
And I can't believe we've lasted an hour and 16 minutes and this controversial subject did not drag NB Geek out of the woodwork.
I can't believe that I only yelled a couple times. And I am sorry I did. It's when people take my words out of context and claim I said words and things in it that I didn't, that I get pissy.
Well, she'll
And that's
be
what
happy
they
now.
were.
She'll be happy from now on now because she has her pussy to pet.
I don't pet
Hey.
my own pussy. I have my husband do that.
You're holding it right now.
Holding it isn't petting it.
Well, pet that pussy.
No, how about I just kiss it?
Make the kitty happy.
It just ate.
Are we going to stop
Seriously.
with school politics, or are we going to go into the Supreme Court decision?
We can go into any of them. This is rant day. This is all about ranting shit.
What happened?
The Supreme Court ruled that Texas's abortion law is illegal, or at least
Nice.
couldn't be challenged how it was. They left it open to other challenges, but the current it took effect. It's the first time when a law more restrictive than whatever was able to legally take effect since Roe versus Wade.
Of course, you got the left yelling that, well, some people won't know they're even pregnant within 6 weeks. So that's against them.
I
love
like
the
how
other-
they say, well, in the same breath, well, there's no exception for rape or incest. But if you were raped, you would start checking before 6 weeks, right?
You
I mean,
would.
that's the thing. I don't get me wrong. You have my complete sympathy in that case. But if that truly happened to you, you wouldn't wait 6 weeks to go
No,
get
you
checked.
wouldn't. Now, I'm torn on this because everyone knows I'm more pro-life anyways. I've never hidden that. I have seen cases with medical that have gone past there where they couldn't save both. But those are not banned anywhere. That was the whole point of the Roe v. Wade that's been misrepresented ever since to pass all these laws that weren't there. All that was a doctor can't be held as a murderer if he does a medical one for her. That's what it was about. And that was happening much really before that. They just didn't talk about it publicly. There were still medical ones going on before that. What this came
All right.
down to is her abusive ex wanted to go after her doctor if he did the medical one when she was at risk for it.
This is where I'm going to get called woke. I can just feel it. Thomas Potts is lurking out there, and he's going to nail me on this one. Personally, to me, I don't give a shit about abortion. The only thing I say is there should never be taxpayer money used for it.
My godson lived through 2 of them that were forced on his mother against her will.
What?
Yeah.
If a woman wants
She
to
she
have
had
one,
2 abortions that didn't take
No,
and was
she
born
had
anyway.
abortions forced on her that didn't take, and he was born anyway. She didn't choose it. It caused her
Yeah.
15 years of fertility hell and him 6 years living on machines.
I told you I was going to get called that. I just don't think the taxpayer dollars should be used for it. And I don't think it should be used as a form of
Birth control.
birth
Thomas
control.
Potts, she was against it. She did pass away recently.
I don't think it should be used as birth control, and I don't think that taxpayer dollars should be used for it. That is my stance right there.
I'll be honest. I was initially against this. I was like Deej, and that, you know what? It should just be the woman's choice. I don't give a shit. It's none of my business. And, if she wanted to abort at 9 months, I'd say just let her do it. I don't care. Hell, I'm honestly like, if you want to kill your baby after it's born, it's really none of my business.
Well, now you're trolling again.
No, now I'm not trolling. That is legit honest. Like
Okay, dude.
I
sorry.
feel like it's none of our business.
Oh.
It's the same logic. What's the point? I mean,
It's two
a
people's
day before,
business.
a day before the baby's born, or a day after. What's the big deal?
To that comment,
Two
I will give him
people's
that.
business.
That comment, the day before and day after, is an argument because the baby hasn't hardly changed other than it's out of the womb now. That's why the late term, even a lot of people who are pro-abortion don't like late term. Because the kid is viable and the kid actually has a brain.
I'm just saying that's how pro-choice I was.
So I will argue with that point things, but I will say there should be a common ground on stuff here where you can say, okay, medical exemptions should be there and whatever. But again, it should never be birth control. And I'm sorry, but wrong, Random Menace. It's not about religion. A lot of people I know that are pro-life are not religious. They are atheists because they say and see from researching science that there's been all kinds of studies that show it, the child responds, reacts, and learns in the womb after a few months. That there is intelligence in the womb, at least as of about halfway through the pregnancy. And that's science, that's not religion. There is an argument that is literally there are two people's human rights to consider in this, not just the woman's. And that's why it's such a hot topic situation for people, because it is life and death sometimes on both sides. And I've seen too many who treat it like it's a condom. I've actually seen women who will brag about getting their 6th abortion because they don't like using condoms in sex because it doesn't feel good. That's the stuff I've dealt with dealing with the high-risk pregnancies and stuff in the inner city. So, yeah, there is an argument where there are some that are openly and wantonly. There was an interview a few years ago that James Franco did with this professor who literally said that if you want the baby, it's human life and it's intelligent in the womb. If you don't want your child, then it's not human and doesn't deserve to live.
When it comes to that fight, it should be between the mother and the father. Nobody else should be sticking their nose into it.
But the argument that it's not life if your child's not wanted. Well, basically, you're just saying that every abused child or child to parents that are shit parents, they're not a real person anymore. That argument was sick. And there is that viewpoint on the other side. And yes, there are a few on the pro-life side who are the hardcore extremists who don't believe in medical exemption, who don't have any empathy for women who are put in really dangerous situations and stuff. And those are also a major problem. But the majority of people on both sides really do want to protect as many lives as possible. And that's why it's so hot topic. Because it's not one person's human rights. It's two. And off my toes.
I'm not on them.
I'm talking to the cat.
Sure you are. Uh-oh. Now we're in trouble.
Why would you say that? Greetings from.
Greetings, Joseph.
No, once again, I'm not going to type it because it's only causing confusion and drags out the discussion. I am pro-life, just to put it, put it up front is the first thing. Why I wrote that it is based on religion, most of the laws, because they are. And not only in the United States, I see the same thing happening here in my country. And the thing is, well, the biggest problem, how I see it, if you have cases where somebody is, okay, I had my sixth now, okay, that's a problem. But I think those are extremes that we are talking about extremes. But if we went to the middle road somewhere, I would say education, education, and making available. Bless you. And making available all the contraception and all the possible methods how to actually avoid unwanted pregnancies.
Well, see, that's why I believe in these in us. If those of us who are in pro-life community, let's do things to help people get medical access. Let's do things with women who are pregnant to get them supplies for the babies. Help them find somewhere to live if they're in bad straits. Help them do things. There is a statistic here with a situation that's one of the ones that's really dicey on both sides, where in the case of people who are forced or go through rape and stuff like that, statistically, they go through more postpartum issues and higher risk of suicidal behavior if they abort it than if they carry it. But in order for them to carry it, even if they put it for adoption, they need to not be kowtowed and bullied into it, but also they need massive support and help.
Exactly, I complete, and this is well, once again, that's why I came onto the panel, because actually we agree on that. You know, I always say that the main decision should be on the woman and not based on the law. The law should give guidelines. The law should give guidelines and give all the possible support that the woman can get if she is pregnant. And it doesn't matter if she's 16 or if she is if she was misused, or whatever happened to her. There should be literally all the possible support.
Here's my issue with the when they're under 18 issues. It's not legal for children under 18 to make medical decisions for themselves without their parents for any other situation. So them being able to do that without parents, I do have a problem with, first of all. Second of all, I absolutely believe if they're under 16, it needs to be reported. They need to be investigated for possibility of sexual abuse.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And see, if you're going to make the argument, there needs to be some legality for people who are in that situation where they have to do it. These clinics, should not be allowed to target to build in only minority communities. And they should not be allowed to perform these without a licensed doctor with hospital admittance and emergency care for her if something happens.
Of course. I completely agree. I completely agree on that. It's not about the biggest problem is that with every restriction, and the more you tighten the law, the more you restrict the access, illegal access to an abortion, the more illegal abortions you will have, That's the problem. And coat hanger will never replace a doctor. You know, that's the problem. That's
and there's whole discussions on that, but the thing is, they weren't happening as often back then as they try to portray. They try to portray it like there were constant back alleys and stuff, and that wasn't true either. It wasn't that common back then, and the fact that there were horrific situations and that and stuff, but the slant away from why don't we try to protect as many lives as possible for both the women and children, the cultural slide away from humanizing children. And I'm talking about even where there's professors arguing that it's not a full person, it's not a child until it's so many years old. And
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, obviously.
And that's been made. And those arguments have been made. The fact that there's so many people who oppose the Born Alive Act. Do you know what that is?
No.
Born Alive Act is where if a child lives through an abortion and is breathing air, you can't either leave it to die or strangle it.
What?
Which is actually happening in some of these clinics.
But what is the maximum time an abortion can be actually done legally? Because
depends
here,
on the state. There are states where they can do it the day of birth.
No, really.
Which is called partial birth, and if you look it up, it is absolutely murder.
Because for example, here you can do it till the end of the first trimester, and that's it. Afterwards, no doctor is going to perform an abortion after 12 weeks of pregnancy, simply because they won't. It's a prohibited, and they simply won't. The problem is when they are trying to forbid it completely. Like there is because right now, for example, here how it works. It's a constant discussion. That's why I know it. You need to have 48 hours decision period.
And they should, because when you're going through something like pregnancy and stuff, especially with the heightened hormones, this is not something you should make as a flippant decision.
Yes. So you need to go to your doctor, and after you have basically a discussion with your doctor, you have 48 hours where you can decide. You get all the materials. I'm not saying necessarily all the support. I'm saying you get all the materials that you can read through. You get eventually contact where you can phone, have a phone call with somebody, and then you can decide. I obviously have no problem if there is like a genetic abnormality, if there's a problem, if the mother has problems, but otherwise,
I think it's dicey on genetic stuff, because where you have like in Iceland is if the kid's going to be born with Downs or has signs of possible autistic issues or stuff, they're aborting them through the state. But even as a parent doing that, if you're aborting it just because you don't want a disabled child, that starts hitting a certain level of the eugenicist side of things. But if there's issues where it's a heightened danger to the mother and baby, it's so severe it's going to cause risk and stuff, that's a separate issue. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand. There, I have slightly different opinion, because bringing if you know that the child will be born, let's say, with the Down syndrome, and you don't want to have this child, you should be able to get an abortion here. And this is once again my opinion. There can be people who say that I'm a horrible person, but the question is how far on the spectrum, because it has as well a spectrum, the Down syndrome. Will the child be? Will it be like completely dependent the whole life on the parents?
And that.
Yes,
And that's the problem. And Iceland is forcing them. They're forcing them, and then they're bragging they don't have that many disabled people in the country.
That's a different story, because that should be
But
really that should be really the decision of the parents.
I have a problem with it being used to prevent having a disabled kid or to gender select or that kind of stuff. I have
Gender selection is stupid.
But
Gender selection
that is
stupid.
part of the same thing as you're trying to pick and choose what kind of a child you have. As a general, when people do that.
I have a solution to it all. Ladies, if you don't want a gut, take it in the butt.
But I mean, there's rational discussions we can have, and this is why I know 2 cases I can cite. One which had a severe ectopic to the point where the baby actually melded into her womb, and her heartbeat and veins were melding with the baby. There was no way they were going to save the child at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. And she almost died from it. And so I look at that situation. The other one was somebody I knew who was in a severe car accident when she was 3 months pregnant. They got hit by a drunk driver. There was so much hemorrhaging in the wrong places that they had to take the baby out to stop the bleeding to keep her alive.
Yeah, of course.
And
In that case,
they tried to keep the baby alive to put it back, but they couldn't, which sometimes you can, sometimes you can't in those cases.
Yeah.
I don't view those as any fault of the mother whatsoever.
Of course not. Of course
I
not.
don't view those as any fault of the doctor whatsoever.
Agree.
But I mean, when you get into the disabled stuff, it's such a blurred line. It's such a
It is definitely. Yeah.
I have disabilities here, and a lot of them were known that it was a high risk for me as soon as my mom and dad knew they were going to have me. My dad's got a lot of these issues, and he's one of this muscular dystrophy. This is stuff they're starting to test babies for in the womb, and some mothers are using as a reason not to have the child. Our lives, if those arguments were won with me and him, we wouldn't be here. And so there is a personal feeling to that too when you're the person with disabilities and you're hearing this argument. Well, what about quality of life? It's like, well, where's our choice in if we want to have that quality of life or not? And that's why it's hard for some of us to take that line and take that edge, because there's a serious situation there. I also think it's a travesty that the average abortion costs $300 and the average adoption costs $150,000.
Oh yes, that's another thing. That is completely one another topic. That is completely
We need to fix
crazy.
the adoption system. The fact that I had seizures as a child should not, in this state, make me illegal to adopt, even though I can legally work in childcare and be a guardian to other people's adopted children. That's asinine. The fact is, the system is severely broken, and there's so much money fraud going on in it that a lot of women are afraid to go through the crap you have to go through if you put a kid up for adoption, and so they will take the other option when they don't want to.
Because in my case, I'm once again, if there is the decision that there is going to be a healthy child, and the mother doesn't want it, the adoption is always a good option. Mm-hmm. But I still think that it shouldn't be like completely banned, completely made unavailable and unacceptable. And anti-tracker has actually a good or salty tracker right now has actually a very, very good standpoint here, that the decision should be made by professionals like doctors and not politicians.
There's also the issue with, when I talk about the case of my nephew, or my godson, it is so heightened for me because this was a doctor who was getting paid by a clinic to do this. He did it. He lied to her. He told her he had to go in to check the baby because something was wrong, and he cut his head open.
Oh,
after he lived through that, he shot him with the saline. It went through my godson, fully through him, and ended up shooting her in the uterus and burned her insides. She didn't consent to either.
But that's criminal. That's criminal. That shouldn't be allowed.
There's more to this situation with this case, because even with all the evidence, somehow all the evidence lockers disappear every time we manage to regather the evidence and take it to case. The day after the clinic he was connected to donates to the mayor of the city. This has happened now for 20 years trying to fight this. There are issues where these clinics cover up for pimps bringing girls in who've been abused and raped. There are issues where girls will be brought in and dropped off and told, don't come home unless you kill it, live on the street. And they will cover up for it. I know people who've been literally dragged into the clinics and the clinic still did it to them against their will. And so we can argue there needs to be that option for those situations, but we also need to start actually scrutinizing these and making sure that they're not as bad as the back alley shit. You know?
Because what you are describing is actually sounds like 90% of back alley shit.
And
that's the problem.
A lot of this stuff is happening in these legal clinics.
There should be, in that case, honestly, I don't know. This is literally something that I don't know how it works in the United States, because this is the situation that you are describing, and it's probably not everywhere in the United States. It's probably as well like
it's quite common in most of the cities, but it's not common in smaller cities and towns.
Yeah. So once again, I'm just saying that there should be a very that all the discussions should be very sensible, and all the clinics should be under extreme scrutiny as well.
And you can see why we don't agree on every point here. I had this, because of that rulings and that stuff being brought up, I ended up having the same discussion with them on Geek Speak last night. Now, I'm sitting on a panel with the trans one, the leftist, and, you know, and I'm the only one that's even on the pro-life side on it, but we had a rational discussion, because the more they listened to me, the more they realized I'm not just saying go after women. I'm saying let's protect as many lives as possible on both sides.
Yes, and once again, I say I'm pro-life, but I'm not completely against abortion. But every single one should be literally checked case by case. Why is it going to happen? Can it be done? And the biggest question, for example, the biggest problem we have here in the country, they are trying to tighten the laws to really to those extremes where then it would actually end up with back alley clinics and half illegal stuff. That's the biggest problem, and they are kicking. What's happening?
I just had to make Rosetta bust up laughing.
But again, because my life, my adult life has been working with abuse victims, rape victims, disabled children, dealing with the school system and the corruption in the inner cities and stuff. I've seen the worst of it on both sides for decades.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm a little jaded to it. I'm also really protective of the good people on both sides, because I've seen it so much firsthand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My body, my choice. Yes, my body, my choice. In situations where it was not the case, my body, my choice. That is the problem.
So, whether or not people like the whole Lila Rose and James and the undercover stuff they did going into these clinics or not, they still went into clinics and told the staff that she was 13 and 14, and the staff said, don't tell us her age, because then we have to report that there might be a criminal action there. And this was multiple clinics in multiple states. That's a big red flag right there.
Then the system is broken, but I'm not sure if it can be managed with laws like it was right now, the one in Texas. You know, that's the problem.
But the reason I say that Texas wasn't a religious law is because a lot of the people that were writing it and pushing it are not religious people. They are actually in the agnostic side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, because I've dealt with this stuff for so long, and because I've dealt with the political system so long, I know a lot of these people, so I know they're not. So it wasn't. They weren't doing this as a religious thing.
Understand. And once again, this is the type of discussion where I cannot comment on actual situation in the United States or specific states within the United States, because I don't live there, and so I can only present my own viewpoints and how I see the situation around it. And I still think that the biggest problem is that there is not enough education, because I think schools are afraid.
The biggest problem is that we are raised not to value human life. I'll give an example of this that's cultural here, because on most of the reservations, because they're under different laws, under treaty and territory, they don't have to obey every Supreme Court thing and every part of constitutional law as much. They're not considered fully states, but they are, So they have, on most reservations, it's banned except for medical exemption. There are no abortion clinics on them.
Mm-hmm.
The women on the reservations support this by 80 to 95%, depending on the res. The women, not the men and the people total, the women. There are almost no issues of back alley things ever happening there, even in the crowded parts of the reservations. The few times where something happens and one woman wants to, they just hitch a ride with somebody to get out of the res for a while. But it doesn't happen as a general, because the culture they grow up in has a value as that being the life of the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not because unwanted pregnancies, sexual assault, stuff like that don't happen. In fact, sexual assault, kidnapping, and that stuff have the highest percentages on the reservations.
Mm-hmm.
But the women value the child. And so they are less likely to do it unless they have to.
Understand. Yeah, but once again, that's very, very specific, and this is something where I cannot talk about.
But I just use that as an example to show that it's more the culture of being raised to devalue that as life and to not value other people's lives as much than it is that there's so many needed, because the amount of them that are medical, sexual assault, incest, and stuff like that are a fractional amount of them. Depending on the clinic and the city, it is reported between less than 1% to 3% for all of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's a devaluing of life is the root of all of it. And that's why it comes back to the education system. That's why it comes back to the culture war. That's why it comes back to the propaganda and what they teach kids and people as children. Because we devalue human life in this culture, and it leads to all of the other stuff.
Yeah, nothing to disagree with. Totally.
And it's amazing that dealing with the education system, I got yelling back and forth with people, but we get into this and I can keep my calm even when I'm saying things that are making me emotional. Partly, I think, because this is one where I feel like I have to, because I have to reach people on this, because I've seen the other side of it,
Yeah. No, as I said, I'm definitely somebody, and I have to say, I was extremely pro-choice years ago. Yeah, but once again, I think both extremes have their roots in not being informed enough. And I think that's with every extreme, that you don't have all the necessary information.
If you look at the history of the U.S. here, what we have now is the right and the left are flip sides of the same progressive coin. It is big government left, big government right. The true historical left and right don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's the centrist now.
Yeah, because everything is polarized. But it's not only in the US, trust me, it's everywhere. Everything is extremely polarized. So basically, finding something like the center, like you said, the centrist is actually problematic, and the problem there is that with that type of opinions, you are alienating actually both sides. Instead of finding common ground, you are alienating everybody. That's the biggest problem.
Now, a true centrist actually believes in let's weigh each thing, pros and cons, and make a decision on it.
Yeah.
But, and you even do have an extremist center that's trying to paint it as a different way. The thing is, all of these extremist groups tie back to the same few political movements on both sides. And it was always about power.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Well, remember, Wookie, Malcolm X bought all the lies for a while. He bought the violent, revolutionary, racist stuff for a while. And when he turned on that, they killed him. When he started calling it out, they killed him. When he saw what he was involved in for what it was and started speaking against it, they killed him.
Yeah, because having you cannot rule or you cannot manipulate people who have critical thinking, because they will always have their opinions. So you are trying to speak to either one side or another and radicalize. Is radicalize? Yeah, the right word. Yeah, you are trying to radicalize basically everybody so that you have as much influence as possible. And you can see it in politicians. You can see it. You can see it in many walks of life that this is basically happening.
Oh, and Wookie, you're exactly right about that. He did clock exactly what they were. That I agree on. So yeah, oh, you poor little minority, you don't know better. We're going to take care of you now. Yeah. These are the same people who, under their critical race theory, I don't count as the upbringing I have. I don't count as my own race and my own culture. I don't count as all my experience dealing with IHS and the res, purely because I have a form of albinoism. And that's their words and what they've said flat out to me. They have a complete disregard that they rate your level of race and your level of societal struggle based on your skin tone. And they're absolutely anti-mixed race.
There is, you know what, in the United States, there is so much talk about races and everything. This is something that I said multiple times on streams, that if you tried to talk about races here in Europe, like black, white, Asian, whatever, mixed races, you will never find that. If you try to find out something like how many I don't know, blacks are living in Germany, or how many Asians are living in Germany, you will never find this type of information. You can find the nationality, but the nationality is not necessary tied to the skin color or something. Because if you try to do something like this in Europe, oh man, this is basically racism or racial profiling.
It is racial profiling and it is racist, but that's what they do. And we have a problem with. I'll go back to the native stuff I've dealt with growing up, because it's a simple place where I have experience, so I can use it easily for examples.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family that's mixed. My dad's very native. My mom's very Celtic. I have a form of albinoism. I'm paler than both. I obviously deal with both sides quite a bit. There is the viewpoint in minority communities that you don't count if your skin's too pale, no matter how much you are that group. And that is a very common bigotry among a lot of minorities right now. I have had a lot of people tell me, I don't count. In fact, my ex told me part of the reason why he could do the stuff to me he did was because my native God had turned his back on me, and that's why I was pale.
Oh man.
The issues with the reservation system, the issue with there are still racist laws that the right won't adjust or the left is twofold. The right has pushed this narrative that there's no racist anything in this country anymore. That's not true. The way the reservations are run are still racist. The left has pushed all this socialist, communist, hardcore big government stuff. And they would have to admit that their big government stuff has destroyed most of the reservations. The right would have to admit there are still laws that restrict your rights based on your native status, especially if your family is actually tied to the res. And because of that, neither side will let people from those experiences have a voice. They will do everything they can to keep them quiet because they'd have to admit their side's culpable as well.
That's rotten. That's just wrong.
They'd have to admit that in 76, there was a Supreme Court ruling that dictated that the reservations cannot punish criminals who come onto the res and commit violent crimes because you have to adhere to U.S. courts, even though they're supposedly their own sovereign nations. And a jury of Indians is not a jury of peers because they're not the same form of human. And that
that sounds like something that is against a law that is valid somewhere else. When you say that the reservations are basically sovereign states or sovereign grounds,
they use this loophole because the laws in the defining what the reservations are so complicated because they're U.S. soil, but they're a sovereign nation. They're treaty lands, but they're a sovereign nation, and so there's this split where they're defined under multiple laws, and because of that, the government uses it as a key to control them while also claiming they have nothing to do with them. Because they fall under these jurisdictions where they don't fall within the normal jurisdiction. And because of that law, and because of the federal government continuing to endorse that and support it and withhold it against the tribes, that's where the kidnapping and rape epidemic on the res came from, because these guys are not being stopped if they come onto the res and target Native women. So sex traffickers from South America are targeting them for kidnapping. That is what's going on, and that's why those numbers are so high. And again, both sides would have to admit there's a problem here, and we need to get rid of the reservation system as it is. We need to go as close to honoring what we have left of the treaties as we can and break all the government shit, give them what was promised, and get out of their way and let them run it themselves. Because that way both sides are happy. Look, get out of the government system, run it for yourself. But don't break treaty and be dishonorable to put them in that spot either. Give them what's required and taper them off the systems and get them out of it. And that's the logical point in the middle that we need. But neither side will ever admit that because it will take away from their side.
Once again, not much I can bring to the table with this discussion, but definitely doesn't sound like something that would be, let's say, fair to all the parties involved.
They had a recent case where the guy tried to cite that 76 law and use it as argument that the tribal police shouldn't even be allowed to pull him over and search his car as he's smuggling drugs and speeding on the highway. And they did not repeal all the crap about you can't try them there and stuff like that, but they did at least say, no, you don't have a right to do whatever you want just because it's a U.S. highway that goes through the res. So on that, I have to give them credit at least that they finally made one ruling right, but it only removed one tiny part of that issue and not the worst part of it, you know? And so while it's a tiny stepping stone in the right direction, it's a big miss also because they could have used that as a way of citing, no, actually, these are sovereign nations. We don't have a right to tell them who they can punish on their land.
Yeah.
Which would have been the legal and right decision to make in that situation. Because, look, the U.S. does not have a right, as a territory and a sovereign nation, to tell people in Puerto Rico you can't punish a U.S. citizen who comes there and commits a violent crime because they're both part of the U.S. but not. It's the same thing. Now,
I just wanted to ask if Puerto
say,
Rico is similar. Yeah.
let's go. There's places in Europe where you traveling a highway, you cross into another country and back into your country because the countries bend into us like that. And I've seen some of those maps.
Yeah, pretty much normal. This is how I travel
on this highway I'll just use France and Belgium. I don't know if they have one like that or not, but I'll just use it. Say you're on a highway in France going to this part of France and you have to cross through Belgium to do it. French government does not have a right to tell the Belgian government they can't punish those people because it's our highway. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's common sense that could be done to fix this and get all these government systems broken down. But again, neither side wants to break the government systems down.
The problem is because it is only, and I'm putting it in quotes, about certain number of people, a small number of people. And this is why they don't care. Simple as that.
It's like they lied tooth and nail to claim how many people it is also. The census information, they claim that the city I came from is a 3% native population, but yet the school system is 68% native.
Doesn't compute.
And you look at it and go, bullshit. The city I'm living in now, census information counting, claims is 5% black. You go from this side of town where I live, and you hit about halfway across the city distance to where downtown is, and almost every neighborhood there, all the way out to the other end of town, is black. It's about half of the city's map is black neighborhoods, but we're supposedly 5% black. Do you see why I don't believe them?
Yeah, I understand it. The question is, do they what do they put as their home address, or basically something? Where do they say is their official home address? And probably those are this is something that makes the number look weird. What I mean by that, I officially in my on paper on all papers I live in the capital city, but I'm actually in a small town 50 kilometers outside.
Wookie, actually, you'd be surprised how many people still use that slur as much as using the N-word on blacks. And the thing is, both of those were slurs made out of words that were benign. Indian is not a bad word. It also didn't originate with either group that are listed under it now. The problem that a lot of people have and why they'll say native and not Indian is usually when conversing with people outside of the tribe so they know which type of Indian you're talking about. Not because we have a problem with the word Indian. And to the degree of it is that it's not a big deal, but that's why I say in some cases what they consider the politically correct terms do make a difference, because if you say an American Indian versus an Indian American, there is actually a difference. Because grammatically, the word you put first would be the classification group and then the location after. So an Indian American would be somebody from India, East Asia stuff, whereas American Indian is they're from here, they're this, that means that they're the native. So it's grammatic structure. Does that make sense? And so in some cases, that word position makes a big difference. But no, within the tribes, it's 90 to 98% poll that they don't give a shit about politically correct words and stuff like that. We don't care. The only ones that do are the few that the media will pick up and put on camera so they can whine and bitch about it. Nobody else gives a shit, and we sit there mocking them.
Well, folks, it's been fun, but I gotta wrap things up here any minute because
I'm sorry,
I
I went rambling so much, DJ.
No, it's just I gotta do running and
peacefully.
I have to pick a kid up from school soon and that, so it's not any of your faults. It's just life. I
know, I kind of rambled a lot. I'm sorry about that, but it was nice having a peaceful conversation about some of the stuff that usually gets people hot and fired up on both sides.
Yeah, I'm trying always to be calm.
And once in a while, we just need a break from the Star Trek stuff.
Well, that's why I do mostly art streams, because I'm getting tired of everyone talking about the same stupid episodes and same stupid movies of everything. Look, I'm in the culture war. I'll continue to call out things when I think they're stupid, but to bash on the same thing for 5 years just gets repetitive, boring, and irritating.
And don't worry, we'll do another stream like this soon. It's just and you know how I rant while I'm in the fields. You'll get plenty of this material soon.
Well, hopefully I'll be up to doing it. I've been sick as a dog the last few days.
Yeah, I hope.
What do you think that
We've
thing
been
was here that
entertained.
I was breathing through when it first came on? It's a steaming nasal nebulizer.
I thought maybe the husband just put his load in the wrong thing and it was shooting out a nebulizer. I don't know.
And yeah, I share the sentiment, Wookie. Great stream. Yeah, Deej. Thank you.
Sometimes we just got to deep dive into something and just to have a serious talk one day, and instead of just acting goofy.
Yeah.
Even though I was still able to act goofy.
A little bit.
Yeah, you mean swallow, damn it?
That's right.
I've
Swallow,
heard
damn
that
it.
phrase before. I'm not saying where.
Or, ladies, if you don't want a gut, take it in the butt. Jeez. Got 2 other holes to choose from.
Wow, I just came back from the perfect saying. What the hell are you talking about?
I know,
We had
LDG
this
will probably
big,
clip
deep
that.
conversation for like 40 minutes. You come back as he's saying that about gut and butt.
Yeah, I come back at the perfect timing. Lovely.
Yeah, he'll probably clip that and play it elsewhere. Don't worry, folks. You haven't heard the last of that one.
Well, I mean, you know how it is. I mean,
Yeah, I know how it is.
You haven't heard. You haven't. Wait. You haven't heard the. Wait 1 second. You haven't heard the last of.
I can't keep it up.
I was trying to ask him if he's actually clipped me.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
LBJ,
Anyway.
have you clipped me?
Sorry,
Bird,
what?
you streaming later?
I asked if you
Oh.
clipped me.
If I slipped you, I'm sorry. Deej was talking over you. Clipped.
If you've taken
No,
clips
I
of
didn't.
me.
No, I was away taking care of business.
No, I didn't mean today. I meant in general.
Oh no, I think I've maybe clipped you once.
Ooh, I'm getting away with it. Unlike Perth Comics, who actually made a freaking video portraying me as Comic Gate's hall girl.
So, Bird, are you awake? Are
Bird
you?
is probably not going to stream, but Bird released his review on Lower Decks, which I
saw that one.
saw that one something like an hour ago. So I think he's not going to stream to not mess up his numbers.
Well, I'm getting ready to stream right now, so if you guys want to relax and watch some good Cowboy Bebop, episode 1 is being aired here shortly, so I got it all ready to go.
Okay, so if you want to go watch a Cowboy Bebop, folks, go on over to LDG's.
The real Cowboy Bebop.
LD put the link into the chat.
Okie dokie.
Eastland's going to check out Bird's video. Eagle's going to probably continue to draw.
Oh, right now I'm writing, but
Yosef's going to continue to collect cats.
Okay, if you say so.
Well, he likes lots of pussy around. What can we say?
That is a correct statement.
You like cats, right?
Cats too, yes.
Okay, cats
cats
too.
too, yes. Hey, I have a friend who's literally said his goal in life is to have a basically harem of cat girls at his beck and call.
Nice.
It's like, okay.
As long as it's not from the musical Cats, Yosef likes it.
No, those are creepy as fuck.
Yeah, Jesus, those are creepy.
Anyway, I'm getting out of here, folks.
Yeah.
So you know how
Take
I'm
care,
leaving it.
Deej. Take care, everybody in the chat, and yeah, have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.
That's it, Deej. You're fired.
Screw you! You're fired! Fire! Fire! You're fired! Fire! 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 You're fired!
PJ Odyssey, how can I be fired? I'm not one of your wrenches. LOL. You're fired from talking to me and being my friend and being on my channel. Get the hell out of here. Go on, you go on, get the hell out of here.